The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod. We're webcasting to you live from the Center for Autism and Related Disorders headquarters in Tarzana, California. So thrilled to be here with you on this Tuesday morning at the end of July in 2013. Really excited that we're going to be here for the next 2 hours talking about autism from a 360-degree perspective, because I know, and more of you are writing in and telling us that you're watching the show, that it's making a difference, that you're getting hooked up to resources. That's what we're here for. And I can't say enough how important it is that you write in and let us know what it is you'd like to see here. This show is really driven by what you guys write to us. Sometimes it takes us a little while, a little prep to get something into the mix, but I'm making the schedule really for the end of the year right now this week. And so if there are topics that you want covered, if there are questions that you have, if there are different schools and schools of thought that you want covered, now is really the time to be writing in and telling us, here's what we want you to cover, because I'm really trying to prep all of that to the end of the year. Some very exciting stuff in the hopper for us. But I also, as we say, if you want to write into us, there's lots of different ways. We've given you lots of choices of how you connect with us. Emily's going to cycle through some of the different ways that you can get a hold of us here. I'm going to start by reminding you that there's only one way today that you can watch us live. We're taking care of that, though, so that I hope by the end of the week there's going to be two ways that you can watch us live. But right now the only place is www.autism-live.com. When you go there, you see a computer screen, and the show should be playing there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you're on a tablet, of course, it's not. But we're going to talk about how you can make that happen by the end of the week. With your help, we can do this. Si se puede, right? But the show plays there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We break into that feed for 2 hours a day, Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. to noon Pacific time, to bring you this show. Next to that box is a white box, and that's your journal box. You get to put your cursor there, put whatever you want, type that in there, hit enter, and it appears here on my screen so that when we're in a live show, I can address it. And I can ask our experts that we have here and our guests that we have here your questions and pick their brains about it. I want to remind you that there is no login for that. There is nothing that you need to do. There's no credit card. It's totally free. We're not even holding a credit card number. We don't know your name, your address, and especially if you're watching, make sure that you reference, if you can't tell if the show is live or not, that's hard, but make sure you reference what it is you're talking about, because sometimes I look at it and I go, I have no idea. So try to use complete sentences, and when you say, I really want more information about what she's talking about, remember that I don't know who she is, because I don't know if you were watching when Lauren Henry from Breath of Love was here, or you were watching when BCBA Angela Persicki was here. So make sure you reference who it is that you want information about. And by the way, if you do want us to get back in touch with you, you can include your personal information in that message. I'll just edit it out before I share it with someone. So I hope that you will participate. Now, I mentioned earlier that there is a way right now that you can help us to make sure that you can watch us in 2 different ways, especially for our friends who are watching on tablets. If you're watching on an iPad or an Android tablet or on a Navi, we want you to be able to watch the live show. And the way that that's going to happen is if you subscribe to us on our YouTube site. YouTube has a situation where if you have more than 1,000 subscribers, they will let you stream live. And we can make that happen really immediately, and it won't cost you a penny, it won't cost us a penny, but we've got to have the subscribers. We're really painfully close now. We expect to be able to get this done today, but we need your help, and we need for you to share it with other people. Now, there's a great way that you can share it. Emily did a wonderful post on our Facebook page. Go to the Facebook page. While you're there, like it if you would. We appreciate that. That helps more people get the message. It doesn't cost you anything to like it. But there's a picture and a post there. There's a picture of a beautiful bottle of One Hope wine. There's a picture of the new Temple Grandin, the Autistic Brain book. And there is a picture of Endless Games Cornered game, which is fabulous for our kids on the autism spectrum. And the reason why there's a picture of all 3 of those things, they have a couple of things in common. They all are for the benefit of people with autism, and you could win them if you share that post on your Facebook. So all you have to do is go in, share the post, put it on your Facebook, and then you will be entered to win one of those. Actually, it's not one lucky person will win all 3 of those items: a bottle of One Hope wine, the new Temple Grandin book, and the game Cornered from Endless Games. It's a fabulous prize. It really, really is. So I hope you'll share it. There's incentive to share it, and I hope that you will subscribe to us, because at the end of the day, it's going to make it possible for more people to see the show in more formats that are free for them, and that's really what we want. We want to make sure that the information gets out there. I always start the show and remind you that I'm not an expert in autism. There are days when I wish I was. There are days when I don't wish to be an expert in autism. Those are the bad parenting days, because I'm an autism parent. That's my deal here. I'm an autism parent, so please know that the things that I'm sharing, I always say I like to keep it real. And I'm sharing from the parent perspective, but we do bring in a wide range of other parents, because everybody's journey is different, and we bring in a wide range of experts because we want to help hook you up with the information that's going to help you. Whether you yourself are on the autism spectrum, or you are a parent, teacher, practitioner, and someone in your life is on the autism spectrum, we all want to show up, right? And we all want to be a part of creating progress. And we know that that's possible. And if you didn't know that before you came today, well, I'm glad you showed up, because we know that that's possible, and we know that there are many things that we can do to move that dial and help to make our lives and individuals who have autism to make their lives more productive. And I'm all about that. As a parent, my son was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2.5. I've been emotional all week long. I don't know what that is. But my son was diagnosed with autism at 2.5, and he is now 10. And there was so much of the journey that I did not know what I was doing. There's still so much of the journey that I don't know who am I kidding? I still don't know what I'm doing. But I try to maintain a sense of humor and cry a lot, because, that's the thing to do. I hear that it's very detoxifying. Let's hope that that's the case. In any case, my son got the very best of help and opportunity that there was available to him. And we owe that to an awful lot of people, but I start that list with the folks at the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. If it seems like I talk about them a lot and I wax poetic about them, it's because they gave me my child back. And that is just such not a small thing. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here, that you guys know what I'm talking about. And we do talk about ABA a lot here, and we're going to be talking about ABA this week. I'm about to do the definition for it. In fact, because we know that ABA is the only scientifically proven effective treatment for all of our kids on the spectrum. Whether you are 27 years old and you have just realized that you have Asperger's and you starting to put it all together and go, hey, this is why I have found myself butting my head against a wall and I need some help here to figure this out. ABA can help you. Or you are 14 years old and you are on the autism spectrum and you're seeing that there are ways that you want to connect with people and it's not working for you, ABA can help you. If you're a parent and your child is 3 years old and self-injurious and not speaking, ABA can help you. And really everything in between. It's a big, huge, beautiful spectrum of people that are affected by autism, and ABA is the most powerful teaching tool, and it can help all of those people and all of us as well. So we do talk about ABA a lot. It is not the only thing we talk about, because on this journey you need a lot of different things, and ABA is it's a backpack that you're going to make sure that you put on, but there's some other considerations as well, not the least of which is figuring out how to pay for the ABA and who the good ABA providers are, right? But there are other considerations too, medical and the emotional and everything else under the sun. So we talk about all of that, but we do talk about ABA because it is something that I know can help all of us. So we will talk about that. And my son had ABA, and thank the stars above that my son had ABA, because he now in the fall, just in a couple of weeks, he'll start 5th grade. And not only is he in completely typical included 5th grade, he is going to be moving to a 5th grade, 6th grade split, because I'm told that he's ready for that, and there will be no aid, and he will be just brilliant. And that's where my life is, from having a child who wasn't speaking, thanking ABA, and thanking the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. So I'm here, and I always say this because I made a deal. Nancy Alspaugh Jackson calls it the kitchen floor club. Those of us who've been on the kitchen floor, and many of us have, and said, okay, God of my understanding, I want to be able to help my child. Help me to figure out what that is. And I promise not only will I show up and help my child, but I will show up and help whoever else I can. That's my deal. So bring it. Let me help you to figure out what are the resources that are available to you. It's different in different states, and let's get this done, right? Let's show up for our kids and show up for ourselves. All right. Enough said. We like to start every morning with something we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym. We try to make sense of it. We give you an actual definition, then we give you a working definition, which is significantly watered down so that maybe we can begin to understand what these things mean in our own lives without getting a huge psychological dictionary and wanting to throw it somewhere. Okay, so today's term, I already gave it away, is ABA. What exactly are we talking about? So let's take a look at our actual definition. ABA, which stands for Applied Behavior Analysis. Among the people who do ABA, it's very important to them that you say applied behavior analysis, that they immediately go, okay, this is a newbie. If you say applied behavioral analysis, I don't know why, but it's a big deal. So applied behavior analysis, but for short, just say ABA. It is the application of the principles of learning and motivation from behavior analysis. Oh, well, that's much clearer. It employs procedures and technology derived from scientifically demonstrated principles of behavior to increase socially significant behaviors and decrease unwanted or inappropriate behaviors. What you say? What you talking about, Willis? Okay, let's look at our working definition. Is a proven method of increasing or teaching desired behavior and reducing unwanted behavior. Okay, so we talked about this a little bit yesterday. I just have to mop down because I got all emotional there. Okay, so think about your life. your very own life right now, and the things that are going right in your life and the things that aren't going right in your life. And if we were to really map it out and go, what's going right in your life, it would be that there are some things that you are doing that are panning out and they're good and you continue to do them, right? And there are other things in your life that you're engaged in and doing that either aren't working out or that you're doing that aren't good for you. This comes under the heading of, maybe you're staying up too late. Maybe you're getting up too late. So maybe you're tired all the time. Maybe you're not eating right. Maybe you're not exercising. Maybe you're not taking care of yourself. Maybe you're not following up on whatever it is that you need to do, right? It's all behavior though. And we can beat ourselves up about it and say, why am I not doing that? Why am I not doing that? Or we can look at it under principle number 1 of ABA, which is in order for you to do anything over and over and over again, it has to have some sort of reward for it. So if you think about, why do I stay up late? Why do I stay up way too late? Well, there's some sort of a paycheck. If you're doing it over and over and over again, you're getting some sort of reward out of it. It may be that you get to watch the program that's on at 11:30 that you really like, and that's the paycheck for you. Yeah, there's a drawback that you wake up in the morning and you're exhausted, but it's still enough of a paycheck that you get to watch the program that you continue to do it, right? So if we wanted to use the principles of ABA to change that behavior, we would say, okay, this is an unwanted behavior, staying up late. The paycheck is that I get to watch the program. How can we combat this? We would make sure that you got enough of a paycheck in the morning when you woke up, and that you would find another time to watch that program that was more rewarding to you. It might be that, for instance, I love the fact that Conan, and we're big fans of Conan here, that Conan airs twice so that, you can stay up and watch it later, but you can watch it significantly earlier, the same show that's going to be on later if you want to. Wow, that's a plus. And then you don't have to stay up late. All programs aren't available twice in the same night. So you really kind of have to work it out, but you have to make sure that you get enough of a paycheck for doing it, that it will make that behavior want to continue. We can do the same thing with our kids on the autism spectrum. If your child is biting, we got to figure out what's the paycheck for the biting. When we figure out what the paycheck for the biting is, we're going to give that paycheck for doing something that's better than biting you. Maybe for a while, we're going to have the child bite a necklace. We've talked about jewelry before on the show. So maybe we have the child bite the necklace, depending on what the function of the behavior is. And that's enough of a paycheck for that child so they stop biting you. Later on, we can change it even again. But we want to reduce this behavior or make it socially acceptable, right? What about when we want to increase a behavior, I want to work out more? Then I got to make a paycheck that makes sense for me. Otherwise, I won't maintain it. Sometimes it's hard finding the right paycheck, right? But if we really look at what's the paycheck for not working out, right? Right? The paycheck for not working out is that I'm not sore and I'm not in pain, right? So we have to combat that as well. But it's this whole balancing act of looking at behaviors and saying, what's the paycheck for doing this? How can we strengthen the paycheck so that somebody wants to do more of this? And how can we take away a paycheck for something that we don't want to see that right now is getting a paycheck? So, and it is a very proven method of teaching. I was saying yesterday, it is and widely recognized as the most effective teaching tool available, ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis. It was not invented for autism at all. It is coincidental and lovely that it is so effective at teaching individuals with autism. And it is. It's been scientifically proven to be very effective. It's why insurance companies are now paying for it, because it has been proven over and over and over again to be effective. So, but it was not invented for autism. And it is applied in so many other applications aside from autism. Businesses use it to get higher productivity out of their employees and to increase morale so that people want to do a better job. I mentioned yesterday they use it with Olympic athletes when they're coaching them. Absolutely. Every possible business and configuration that's out there has used the principles of ABA at some point in order to increase productivity and increase teaching and be more desired behavior, and to decrease behaviors like employees calling in sick or attrition, employees quitting and going on to other jobs. ABA, it's used for all of those different things. It is a proven method of increasing or teaching desired behavior and reducing unwanted behavior. For our kids with autism, that's a light at the end of the tunnel. We can increase any behavior that we want to, and we can decrease any behavior that we want to. Think about that within the context of how autism is currently kicking your keister, if it is, and think to yourself, what behavior, if I could, what behavior would I reduce, and what behavior would I increase in me, and in my child, and in the people around me? It's a very powerful wish list, right? But it's possible. It's very possible. Okay, that's our definition for today. We always have a question of the day. And our question today, this really gets to the heart of it right here. What is your biggest challenge with doing an ABA-based program? What I have come to realize as we talk here on the show, there are several different kinds of people who show up to this show, and people are in different places about ABA. There are some of you out there who still are in the doubting Thomas and say, I just don't think I have to do ABA. And you don't. I mean, there is no law saying that you have to do ABA with autism. We like to present to you the evidence that scientifically it's shown that it will be effective at creating progress. But still, and those of you who have gotten that idea are left facing what looks like an insurmountable mountain of how do I then get access? And that is really a lot of our viewers right now that you have written in overwhelmingly and said, okay, I don't know what to do. I now get it. I have to get ABA for my child, or I have to get ABA for myself. How am I going to do this? That's a bigger, tougher question. And we want to know specifically from you, what are the challenges that you are facing, because it is not one size fits all in terms of the challenge. Certainly the funding is a huge, huge component of it, but even that is not the only challenge. And I want you to write in and say this because, first of all, we're in a big push right now talking to legislators. And because we do get an opportunity to talk to a lot of different parents, I want you to know that we use that weight, and we are talking to legislators and saying, you need to know this is what people are saying to us. So do write in and say it, but also write in for yourself and say it on our Facebook page so that others see what you're going through and can be helpful and supportive. And it's possible that somebody else has the answer where you are. You just never know. You might write in and say, and I would say, if you're comfortable, include where you're writing from, because that is a big part of the equation. Wish it wasn't, but it is. Huge part of the equation. So, say, I'm in Kansas, and this is the problem that I'm having. I can't find an ABA provider that's within 60 miles of me, because it may be that somebody else from Kansas reads that and says, somebody just opened 2 weeks ago down the street, and they're brilliant. You just don't know what may come of it. So I encourage you to write in. We're going to have some time later on to look at what's your biggest challenge with doing an ABA-based program. For some of you, it's that you've got a two-career family, because that's the majority of people in the United States, and it's the majority of the people in the world. Who are we kidding? And you realize that your funding source says that one of you needs to be present, and it's a financial hardship. I have been there and done that. It's tough. It's still doable, but it's really tough. And more center-based programs are springing up, and insurance companies are funding treatment at those. And what that means is that parents have the ability to drop a child off on their way to work. Their child spends their day in a school sort of environment, in a center-based program where BCBAs are present. They get to interact with other children, but they're getting one-on-one ABA. And you don't have to become a one-income family. It used to be a foregone conclusion that you were looking at bankruptcy if you were a two-income family and you were going to do an ABA home-based program. Doesn't have to be that way now in certain areas, and in more areas coming. So name it, claim it, name it, and let's see what we can't work out together. All right? We always have a topic of the week. Our topic this entire week, we're really going back to basics, ABA basics, really taking this apart. What is it? Why is it so effective? What do you have to do to be effective doing ABA basics? We talked a little bit about, we did the funding 101 last week, but this week we're really taking it apart. There's still a lot of misconceptions about what ABA is and why it works and how you as a parent, a teacher, practitioner, or a person on the spectrum can empower yourself using ABA basics to be able to teach yourself and to teach others around you. It's really, really powerful. Some of the different things that we have going on today, because it is Tuesday, we will be hitting our healthy eating tip for the week. We will be talking about challenging behavior a lot today, and we have Evelyn Gould coming in. She's a BCBA, a board certified behavior analyst, for Making Room with Evelyn, and in particular, we've gotten several questions along the same lines in the last week of people saying, okay, I get it. I want to do ABA. And they've written in some very specific obstacles that they've come up against. And we're going to have Evelyn talk a little bit about what as a parent to do and how to deal with the emotions of that and get through to the action portion where you are making a difference for your child no matter what your circumstances are. Really excited to have her in here today talking about that. Okay, we're going to take a break. And then, because my gums are tired, and when we come back, we're going to take on the healthy eating tip of the week. So stick with us.
You know, Shannon, at Act Today, we're always looking for fun, creative ways that the public can help us raise money for those with autism that can't afford treatment and care.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, right now, Paper Clouds Apparel has a really great promotion that they're doing. They feature limited edition t-shirts that are designed by people who are on the autism spectrum, and they give the proceeds to a wonderful organization. Right now, it goes to benefit Autism Care and Treatment Today.
And guess who that artist is? By none other than your son, Jim. And he has made an adorable robot illustration.
And you can buy the t-shirt, the tote bag, or the hat right now by going to www.papercloudsapparel.com. And as we said, 50% of the proceeds go to Autism Care and Treatment Today. To what kinds of things, Nancy?
It's going to fund treatment like social skills, school tuition, ABA therapy, safety equipment, summer camp tuition. I could go on.
Yes, and she will too. But in any case, if she just talks about it, it won't happen. You have to go there and get a t-shirt, a hat, or a tote bag. In fact, get all of them.
It's a fun way to raise money for those less fortunate.
Welcome back to Autism Live. It's time for our healthy eating tip of the week. Now, we talk a lot on the show about how important it is for our kids to eat lots of healthy produce and how important it is to eat organic. It is a particular time of the year where the harvest is upon us, right? I really want to drive home this week that in the next 2 weeks, I want to ask everybody within the sound of my voice to go on your internet and search for farmers markets in your area and see if you can't do an outing with your child or children to the farmers market. Even if you don't buy anything, just to experience what that is in harvest time. Even if you were just to go from booth to booth and look at everything and identify it to your child and say, this is what it is. Listen, you can ask questions of the farmers. They are a great resource, as are the people who go to the farmers market, to ask them, what do you do with that? I love the conversations that happen at farmers markets when there's some odd vegetable that you haven't seen before, and you say to the farmer, so how do you cook that? And they will tell you a few things, and then 3 other people who are standing there at the booth will come up with other things to do with that vegetable or that fruit. It's a really exciting opportunity to learn about other things, but it really will help your children to connect food to the source. And we know that that's a problem, especially in the United States, that kids, if you've ever seen Jamie Oliver's Food Revolution, oh, I'm so sorry that show got canceled. Really bums me out. But he would go into junior highs and high schools and show pictures of food and ask them, what does it come from? Like a picture of cheese, and say, what does this come from? And children did not realize that cheese is a byproduct from cow's milk or another animal's milk. They just weren't able to connect that together. It's really important for our children's education and for healthy eating for them to understand where their food comes from. So to be at a farmer's market, what would also be great is to take them to a farm, but that's not always possible in most places. But almost every place in the world has access within an hour's drive to a farmer's market. It's a worthwhile outing to do, to connect them with the farmers that grow the food, to put a face with the fact that this gets grown. You can ask questions. And even if it's just, if you have a small child and they're nonverbal and their receptive language is not big, it's still a really wonderful educational thing to do. It's colorful. And if nothing else, let them register that food should be colorful, but not in Dago colors, not in neon colors, right? But nature provides us with a bunch of different colors. If you've got the money to do it, and I hope that you do, I would encourage you to give the child the opportunity to pick some vegetables that they would like to try. And you can steer them towards things, make sure that it's reinforcing. Like if the first time out they're picking something and you go, ooh, I just don't know. Like I was going to say beets, that kids tend to be attracted to beets. They're very, very colorful. Just be careful that you cook a beet properly, because kids will eat beets and they love beets. Beets are full of natural sugar and they should love beets. But if you don't cook them properly, kids will never eat beets again, So make sure you know what you're doing before you give a child a beet. But beets are fabulous, and kids will eat them. You just have to make sure you do it properly. And it means not overcooking them, not undercooking them, and slicing and dicing and grating in the right possible way so that they're getting a texture that they like. If your child likes crunchy, you want to make sure that it's got a little crunch to it. But there are lots of kids who don't want it to have a crunch to it. You know what I'm saying? So, but I would encourage you to take them to the farmer's market, encourage them to buy something. If you've got kids that are older, give them money. Let's do a money lesson at the farmer's market and say, you have 5 $1 bills, and go and talk to the farmer and ask the farmer how much it is for something. Farmers like to give samples too at the farmer's market for you to try something. It's a wonderful opportunity, and usually they're super duper friendly. They're used to talking to people at the farmer's market, and they'll be really, really sweet to your child. We, at our farmer's market, there's such a cornucopia. We're so lucky with our local farmer's market. And they even have someone who makes all natural sausages, some of which my son can have. And every Sunday, my son goes and talks to that gentleman. And it's a wonderful opportunity for him to be conversing with other people. There's also a woman who grows cucumbers and tomatoes hydroponically. And if I go without my son, she says, "Where is Jem?" And she loves to give him cucumbers that are in the shape of a J, and they have a little laugh over it. So it's a social outing too, and I think it's really important that we connect social with food. Let's connect the dots so that food isn't this foreign thing that's far away. Encourage our kids to eat a rainbow, encourage them to eat healthily, and encourage them to support local agriculture. You're going to get less pesticides, and we need those farmers. So it's a win-win-win. Go to the farmer's market. The next 2 weeks is the best possible time to go. There are going to be more things to see, more colors than any other time in the year, no matter where you are. All right, there's our healthy eating tip for the week. Stick with us. We'll be back after these messages.
You say hi, we say hi. Let's get wild, let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Hi, welcome back to Autism Live. I'm Lisa Ackerman, Executive Director of TACA. We're gonna bake again.
All right.
It's my lovely assistant.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Lucero.
We've heard so many people go, I want a decent chocolate chip cookie for my kid to eat. We've got all our dry ingredients. So I've got the flour, I've got the flaxseed meal, baking soda, baking powder, our gum, or xanthan gum.
Great.
So We're going to get started in the mixer here. So there's our dry ingredients. I do have brown sugar. We did cut this down. And the one way to do that is my favorite, and that's maple syrup. I'm using egg for this recipe, but we could use more arrowroot and also the flaxseed meal. So I'll go ahead and throw my eggs in here, which I love doing. So, and then the last thing is a shortening and gluten-free casein-free butter replacement. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this in. I've let it sit out for a while so it's nice and soft. So let's go ahead and mix this thing well. These are dairy-free, soy-free, and I really like them. Again, Enjoy Life is a great product. It's also net-free. And chocolate chips are a personal thing. I won't judge you if you use the whole bag.
I would.
I know, right? So here we go. Great recipe. It's the nice consistency. Everything's ready to go, so we can enjoy our cookies here in just about 10 minutes. We want to give it a kind of like a couple inches between each cookie. You know, a lot of people are really concerned about aluminum, so what I've done is I laid down my natural brown parchment paper, and Jen's helping out putting the cookies down. So we're separating the nice baked good that's all organic from the aluminum cookie sheets. So let's go put these in. So magic oven allows me to pull the last ones out. And voila.
Yum, that's so good.
Really great cookies. I'll let you have a bite so you can do my Vanna White there too. Yeah, these taste pretty good.
Really good.
We're going to come back later after I gain 5 pounds and eat this entire tray.
For sure.
You know, more feedback is good. So if there's something you want us to convert, like another recipe or maybe a relative made, just let us know. autismlive@gmail.com. You can go to Facebook, or there's thousands of recipes on the TACA website just waiting for you to explore. You can go to TACANOW, TACANOW.org, and we'll see you next time at Autism Live.
Bye.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I was going to the question of the day today, but I don't see it here. So we're going to address a couple of things that you guys have written in. Somebody wrote in and said, my son gets overload from sensory overload. Very common for our kids, right? I have noticed the more we do with him at times, the more he gets frustrated. I think this is a really good place to start because we promised that we were going to talk a little bit about challenging behavior today. And super duper important as we're talking about ABA, and we talk about the fact that every behavior that somebody does again and again and again, there's a paycheck for it. So let's just imagine for a moment, let's think about a child who you go and you do something with them and the child is having a meltdown, and you start to put together the pieces and be a detective, a behavior detective, and you notice, okay, the more we do with him, the more he gets frustrated, which may lead to some challenging behavior. By the way, frustration doesn't have to lead to challenging behavior, because if we make sure that we teach and put enough things in there about how to deal with frustration, what we'll end up with is a child who knows their limits and who is able to in some way communicate, whether it's vocally or typing on a thing saying, I need a break. I need a break right now, and that they will understand what a break looks like for them, and you will understand it as well. I love when I go to events that are autism sponsored and they're really loud, right? Really just like off the hook loud. And sometimes they have sensory tents set up so that quiet spaces, so that a child can go into one of those quiet spaces and kind of chill out. The difficulty is that all kids don't know when that moment is, and parents, it's really hard for us to be able to identify, okay, now is when my child has had enough. You don't want to try to figure that out at a huge event like that. You want to practice it at home and then practice it in the classroom about, looking and helping them to identify. Monica Holloway was just talking yesterday about one of the things that they did a lot, and she wanted to know if we did it with our son as well, but languaging emotions for our kids so that when you see that your child is frustrated and it's clear that your child is frustrated, that you start languaging and saying, you're frustrated right now. I see that you're frustrated. They don't know what frustration means, but eventually if you keep saying it, they're going to start to pair it up with, okay, when I'm feeling this way, that's frustration. Then we can start to figure out with this individual child what decreases that frustration, so that we figure out what to do about that to deal with it so that it doesn't get to meltdown point, right? But it's really crucial for us to start to put together the pieces and see what all the little steps leading up to the frustration were, because we talked yesterday about antecedents. Something is happening that's making the child frustrated, right? And a lot of times frustration happens not from one thing, it's a chain of things, right? Over a period of time. It's true for us, it's true for our kids. And if we can start to see that, okay, when this happens, this is when we get on the train tracks to frustration. And then this happens, this is the first stop along the way to frustration. And here's the third stop, and then it's, we've arrived at frustration. So that if we can start to head it off at the pass, that if we see the first sign, and we do this with our kids all the time, by the way. There's one child that I know that he would play with his feet right before he was ready for bed. He would play with his feet and you would know, oh, it's time to get that child in, close to a bed, rocking, book, whatever, whatever it is for that child, because they're ready. And if you waited too long, then he would cry and he would get upset because he was overtired, right? So we look for these signs, and as adults, we do this as well, that there are signs of, we start to recognize them for ourselves. Okay, I'm getting mad here, so I'm going to go walk around my desk for a minute. I'm going to walk around the block. I'm going to take a trip down the hallway. I'm going to go drink some water. I'm going to take a trip to the restroom so that I don't say something that I don't want to say, right? We find ways, we start to do that with our kids and notice, okay, this is what he does when it's starting to be too much. Maybe it's that he rubs his chin, or he starts scowling, or he gets whiny, whatever it is, but we identify it and then we make sure that we intervene earlier. We don't have to wait till we get to the point of frustration, and because if we stay at frustration too long, we're going to get to challenging behavior. And we've had experts on the show talking about when it's sensory kinds of things, how we can very, very slowly, systematically desensitize kids. So that for those of you who've written it and said, my child goes into the multi-purpose room, which a lot of schools have now, that it's a gymnasium and it's the lunchroom and it's, the health room and every possible configuration, that room. It's the stage and it's everything. And it's also a lot of times big and echoey. And you get a lot of kids in there at lunchtime, and I don't know how anybody survives it. I would be in tears because it's so loud. And echoey, just sound bouncing off of hard surfaces. But for our kids that have sensory problems that you don't have an alternative, what are you going to do? Take them out of lunch, and so they don't have that social time? We can go in and record that room and then play it at a very, very low volume when the child is playing and doing something at home, and slowly, very incrementally turn up the volume so that they have adapted to it and they've learned how to filter it and they're able to do things and not have it bother them. Teaching how to deal with it, very important component. Giving the child the communication skills, the functional communication skills, to eventually be able to identify when they've had enough and to ask for a break. And in the meantime, using antecedent modification so that we're watching the signs, and when we see that, okay, this sign, that this is an antecedent, that this we're headed towards here, that we intervene and head it off at the pass. If we use all of those things, we can help our kids to deal with frustration, to know how to communicate when they've had enough, and to desensitize them to the sensory stuff. I think I already said that. But to cope with those moments. I remember with Jem, we took Jem to his first movie. He went to see Finding Nemo when he was exactly 6 weeks old. And I remember people saying, "You're crazy. You're taking a baby to see Finding Nemo? What is wrong with you?" And he sat in that car seat, and because we had the little car seat, we put it in the seat, and he sat and he watched that movie, stayed awake the whole time, didn't mew, nothing. He was fascinated. It was absolutely amazing. He was riveted to the movie screen. And we said, "Wow, that's amazing." And we took him out of the movie theater, out of that dark movie theater, took him out into the sunshine and put him in the car, and the child screamed as if he'd been tortured for a good solid 15 minutes. I literally thought something was wrong. I thought something had stuck him in the car. He screamed like he was being peeled, and I didn't know what to do. And if he'd screamed any longer, we would have taken him to the pediatrician. And then a couple of days later, we took him to an outdoor park thing where they were doing jazz, and we were there with a bunch of people, and everybody was like, "I've never seen a baby do so well with this many people and this much," and we weren't close to the stage at all, but it was noisy, and there were lots and lots of people, and people were like, "Oh my gosh, this is the best baby ever. He does so well. Look at him," and he was social and making eye contact with people and we put him in the car to take him home, and we called the doctor because he was screaming, and there was nothing that would console him, nothing at all. And the doctor said to us then, "This is a child. This is who meet your child, because he does fine with sensory things in the moment, but he is going to need to decompress afterwards. Other kids can't handle it in the moment, but you need to meet your child and see, this is how my child copes with this, and this is what he does. My child he is sensory seeking, and he will walk into a room we've gone to some science museums where, it's like all the electricity that goes through the walls, and you touch it and it does this. Loves it, would go running into that room, absolutely love it. But I know as the parent, when he comes out of that room, I got to smooth it out, because he's overloaded, right? So we get to meet our children, and we meet them where they are and give them what they need to cope. It's an interesting journey and worthwhile. All right, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back. I'm going to see if I can get your answers to the question of the day. Stick with us.
Hi guys, welcome back. For the month of July, I figured we're going to do something again that's more for outdoorsiness, since it's summertime and I know your kids are going to be home and you need some activities to do inside and outside. So for July, I figured we'd make a lantern. So let's get started. The materials you'll be needing are wax paper, an iron, crayons, scissors, popsicle sticks, pencil sharpener, a glue gun, and tape. What I did first is that I have my iron heating on medium heat, okay? Make sure you keep this far away from your child because I don't want them to get hurt. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to take my wax paper and I'm going to make 4 sheets. I'm going to cut out a thing that's about 12 inches long, okay? Now that I have my wax papers cut out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my crayon, and if you have kids around, which I hope you do, I'm going to grab them and have them make some crayon shavings. What the shavings are going to end up doing is making it a design. And again, this is another time for you and your child to talk about colors. You can discuss what would happen if you mix, some blue crayons and some yellow crayons. What would that produce? When you and your child have finally decided there's enough crayon shavings on your wax paper, what you're going to do next is you're going to take it and fold it in half. Now that I have it folded in half, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take an old newspaper and then I'm going to sandwich it in between. And then with my iron on medium heat, I'm just going to have it gently on there just so the wax melts into the paper and becomes one thing. Let's take a peek inside. And as you can see, all the crayons have melted into it, making this beautiful kind of rainbow-ish color. Alright, now I'm going to do this with the other 3 that I've made, and then we're going to assemble our beautiful lantern. Alright? So here are my 4 finished panels that I'm ready to build into the lantern. So what I'm going to do is I have these popsicle sticks, and I'm going to build them into a square and glue them together with my hot glue gun. While you're building your lantern, it's a good opportunity to work on math skills with your child. You could discuss how many sides does a square have versus how many sides does a cube have. Okay, I'm going to do this another 3 more times, so I have one for every single side. Alright, well, now that I have these 4 different sides built, I am now going to take these wax paper things that I've built, and then I'm going to put glue on here and smash it on there, okay? I know the wax paper is way too big for it, but what we're going to do later is trim it. Alright, so now they're all done being glued together. Now I'm going to take my scissors and trim along the outside. Now that the 4 sides are done, I'm going to take some tape and I'm going to line the edge of it so they will stay together to make my cube form. And voila, here's my lantern, but it's missing something. You're right, it's missing a light to illuminate it. So what I'm going to put in here is an LED light. I'm definitely not going to put a real candle or else this thing's going to catch on fire, and that is a real safety hazard, okay? So here's my little guy, and I'm going to turn it on. Let's see what happens. Ooh, look at that. Isn't that pretty nice? And it's not even dark yet. I would love if you shared your pictures of your finished crafts. But until then, craft on. Bye, guys.
Can you see me flying by your side?
Welcome back to Autism Live. We have a question every day that we ask you, and we encourage you to answer us on Twitter and on Facebook, or email us or call us or whatever. And a lot of times we like to drop in on Facebook and see what you guys wrote to the answer, your answer to the question of the day. So today's question was, what's your biggest challenge with doing an ABA-based program? So, and interesting, the things that you guys wrote. Somebody wrote in and said, ignoring the meltdowns, but it worked for us. And you know what I believe that they're referring to is that a lot of times when we take a look at, we've been talking all week long about the principles of ABA and that there's a paycheck for behavior. So if your child is having a lot of meltdowns and tantrums, more specifically, if they're having a lot of tantrums, there is some sort of paycheck for it. It may be that they're getting out of doing something. It may be that they're getting attention. It may be that when they have a tantrum, grandma gives them the toy that they wanted, right? There is some sort of paycheck. Now, when it gets to full-on meltdowns, a lot of times there's another component to it. There is a sensory component when the child, and I personally, my difference between a tantrum and a meltdown, tantrum is when the child is, full mess, right? And they're, screaming and yelling, doing whatever it is that they do, challenging behavior. Meltdown, but there's something going on, right? Meltdown is when they've gone beyond the point of reason, when they've, crossed that line and you really can't get through to them at all, and they are such a mess and they don't even know why they're upset anymore, that place, which is much harder. And usually there is some sort of environmental component in that they're overheated, or they're overtired, or they needed something to drink, or they're having something, allergic reaction to something. There is another component to that just amped it up, right? But when we see that if the paycheck for a behavior, let's say that it's a tantrum, and we're able to determine through a really specific process that this tantrum is being, the paycheck it's getting is attention. We call that attention-maintained behavior, because the reason why they keep doing it again and again and again is that they're getting attention for it. It can be even negative attention, doesn't matter to the child. And so one of the procedures that we do to cut it off from its supply of paycheck is called extinction, and it literally is cutting off that reward. So if it's attention, that's the reward, we don't reward the behavior with attention. So from time to time, you will see an autism parent and the child will throw themselves on the floor, and then the autism parent gets very interested in something else that's going on. They're not ignoring their child, they're ignoring the behavior, and they're like, oh, that's really interesting, that's fascinating. Oh yes, I'm going to drink my water. The example I always give where I was doing extinction was that I was watering the plants while my child was having a full-blown tantrum. Wasn't ignoring him, but I was ignoring his behavior. And then as soon as he was calm, he had my full undivided attention, right? It's picking hard. Let me just tell you that the first time that you, with help, and you should do it with help the first time, try to institute extinction for an attention-maintained tantrum, it's like, psychologically, it's like being pulled backwards through a knothole in a tree. It feels like everything is wrong in the moment. Like, how could I possibly ignore this? The child is doing things, and you want to say to them, now, is that really getting you what you want? But that's attention. So it feels really hard. So I love that they wrote and said that ignoring the meltdowns has been the biggest challenge. but it worked for us. And a smiley face worked for me too. If attention is really the thing that maintains the behavior, not giving it attention is really the thing that works. By the way, this works in a classroom for those of you teachers out there. You've got those empty bucket children. They just can't get enough attention, and so they do things just to get the attention. And if we give them attention for the things that they do that are really good, and we don't give them the attention for the things that they do are really bad, they stop doing them. It works. It feels wrong. It feels like it wouldn't work, but it does. Another person wrote in and said, not giving when he gets upset. It's just instinct to want to just hold him, wipe the tears, and give him what he desires. Knowing that I can create a smile and a giggle, or that I can create a tear and a cry with one simple action, that is the challenge I struggle with every day. But I know in my head it's the right thing to do to follow through with these ABA skills, and it will only benefit him in the long run. Even though my son is nonverbal, he is still very smart. And although he may think right now that I am a B word, I can only hope that one of these days he will actually be able to look at me in the eye and say, thank you, Mom, for being a B word. I love you. And that so beautifully and eloquently put came from our friends at Autism Will Not Define My Son. We've had her on the show before, a really amazing mom. And so well put, because, man, it is hard. I'm a little bit further along in this with you, and I can tell you that now Jem is at an age where we can have a discussion about it. And he can say to me, Mom, you're really being very mean. And I can say, yes, but it's because I love you. That's the kind of mom that I'm going to be, because I could be the mom who didn't care. And then he goes, all right. Right. And I say to him, and you know what? It's okay to be mad at me. It is totally okay for you to be mad at me and to be frustrated with me. And because we did all that work about what to do with your anger and what to do with your frustration, he understands what those terms mean. And he frequently will say to me, I am really mad at you right now. You are just really frustrating me. And I want to hug him in that moment. And I usually say to him, I'm so glad that you're using your words and telling me, and I'm really sorry that I'm frustrating you. Tell me what I'm doing that's frustrating you. I hate it when you treat me like I'm a baby. Oh, what am I doing that's treating you like a baby? Because he's at that really interesting spot where he's like, don't treat me like a baby. And then we go someplace and he wants to sit on my lap. Okay. Clearly, he's trying to work it out too. But it's lovely that he can talk about it now and tell me. And that comes with a whole lot of work and a whole lot of time and a whole lot of taking deep breaths from my point of view. Another person says, hoping my son mixes with people. And I don't know whether that's because we asked what's your biggest challenge with ABA therapy. And so I don't know whether that's mixing with your therapist or that he gets that training from the therapist. I'm not entirely sure on that one. But we all want our children to be social. I think all of us do. Love this one, training others and family to follow through. Oh, right. So we just talked about how difficult it is for us as the parents to do extinction. But once we do it, we go, okay, this is hard, but I see that it works, so I'm going to keep doing it, right? Then try explaining it to somebody in your family. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a challenge. Try explaining it to your mother-in-law. Why, when Jimmy throws things, that we're not going to say to him, hey, we don't throw things, that's a timeout. Instead, we're going to act like we didn't see it. What? That's going to go over well at Thanksgiving. Yeah, really hard. And then try training a babysitter about that. That's why so many of us don't go on dates with our significant others, because it's really hard to get somebody to not pay the attention. Then try to get your teachers. It's hard. Hard. But we have to try. Another person who says, love our ABA therapists. Hardest thing is hearing the whining. My son is 2 years old, but knowing he will learn a new skill. Yeah, we just cycled through a period of whining, and it's just so hard. It was just so hard. And my son's 10, and we just cycled through a whining period. And we've gone through it a couple of different times, and you have to ignore it. You have to put it on extinction and make sure that you don't give them the thing that they're wanting. And I think ultimately this last time, I just had to really dig in on one day and go, the words "stop whining" are not going to come out of my mouth. And I am going to be pristine in only paying attention to him and giving him what he wants when he asks for it appropriately, and completely ignoring whining. Now, it took him like 2 days to finally get it without me saying something, because I wanted to speed up the process and go, you notice I'm not going to give you any attention as long as you're whining. But A, that's cheating. And B, it sort of resets the clock and you have to start all over again. It doesn't seem like that would be the case. But you know how they show in movies sometimes, and they'll show like a computer doing something, and the person stands there and says, learn, I'm waiting for you to learn. That's what it's like with our kids sometimes. We just have to keep presenting the argument, right? So you whine, I don't acknowledge you. You whine, I don't acknowledge you. And you say something appropriately, and I give you everything you want, and give you all kinds of attention and tell you how fabulous you are. Immediately, that I'm right there with it. Then you whine and lights go off on the party. You whine and I don't acknowledge it. You whine, I don't, and you're sitting there in your head and you're going, when are you going to get it? When are you going to get it? But in reality, so it took me 2 days of doing that, and then the whining stopped. It's a worthwhile 2 days. A really worthwhile 2 days. Another person who says, we've been doing ABA for 9 years. Even though I love this team, sometimes I really hate having people in my house all the time. Oh, we are friends. Because I would get crabby pants from time to time where I would just be like, I would like to have a weekend with no other people in my house. Could I just have that? Could somebody just please let me have some time to myself? I don't need a committee of people in my house today. But you do, right? But yes, you get to be frustrated by it. And if you need to, call me, and I'll just set up my phone on speakerphone. I'll continue to work, and you can rant and say, and I'm sick and tired of people, coming in my house, and I got to buy more toilet paper because they're there. And, I had to make sure my laundry was picked up this morning because there were people coming at 8:30, and, whatever it is. It is amazing to me the things that can drive you crazy. I would start to tell therapists when they would come in, okay, look, here's the deal. Here's what makes me crazy. And one of the things that always made me crazy, that I look back and I go, really, what was I thinking? But if a therapist took out a game, we have lots of games, and we bought lots of games so that they could do games with my son. And if a therapist took out a game and they played the game with my son, I said that I wanted them to make sure that it was part of his program, that he helped them to pack it up so that it wasn't just him doing it by himself, because he wouldn't do it properly, right? When he was little, when he was 3, right? And that it all got picked up before they took another thing out, because every once in a while we'd get a therapist who would come and they'd take out a game and they'd take out another game and they'd take out another game, and we would always have a tantrum because it was too much for my son. And so often pieces would get mixed, so then the next therapist would come and take out the game and they didn't have the right pieces. And once a week I was having to go through and take all the games and go through and sort out all the pieces. So I said, you take out a game, you put it away, it's part of his program, he learns how to put it away, we'll head the tantrums off, and the pieces are all there. And I was militant about it. And I would get furious if a therapist didn't put the, now I look back and go, all right, really, But you get frustrated. You get frustrated because there's people in your house. Now I miss it. I miss having people over, and my husband said, we don't have people over anymore. We had people in our house every day, and it was kind of fun. They bring a young energy. They bring help and hope to our kids. But I feel you. It's hard when it's not your daily choice. But you'll miss them someday. You will. And of course, another person who wrote in, all in caps with 3 exclamation points, it's there at the bottom of the screen, money. That's the biggest thing holding you back from your ABA program. That's something to talk about. We just did a show about it last week, and we've done Funding 101 before. We will talk more about it, but there are ways to combat this. All right, we're way over time. I want to go to the A word. This is the amazing documentary being made by the Center for Autism and Related Disorders, following a little boy who was diagnosed with autism when he was 2. He, at this point, has been having his early intensive ABA therapy for over a year, and he's made tremendous gains, but he's not done yet. And this all goes to this idea that ABA is a marathon, not a sprint, that you really have to commit yourself. If your child is young and you're having autism-related problems, let's say that your child is between the ages of a year old and before kindergarten, usually in that window, the recommendation, if your child is profoundly affected or, they're very high functioning, but you are having issues related to autism, the prescription is between 30 and 40 hours of ABA a week. Yes, I meant what I said. I heard myself say it. It's what science has shown to be effective. And a lot of times people say, oh, well, the really profoundly affected kids aren't going to be able to do that. Well, you have to ramp up to it with all kids, right? But it's the most effective way of getting progress. And for those kids that are on the high functioning end, we want to make sure that they get all the help. And if you do that intervention for the high functioning kids, it's very likely that they'll never need anything else ever again within a couple of short years. But you really have to commit to that 30 to 40 hours a week for at least 2 years, in some cases 3, 4, and in my son's case, 5. You got to commit to it. You got to commit to it. It's not the easiest thing. It's certainly not easy emotionally or financially, but you got to commit to it. And here we see Jack Riley. This is, case in point. Everybody goes, well, he's making so much progress. Would we want to finish this job undone? We wouldn't. So take a look. This is the A word.
I know a cute little blue-eyed boy, and his name is Jack. Jack Riley. He got a big, warm, blue-eyed soul that makes your heart beat fast.
Let's go with Mr.
That's a great idea.
Let's really build first.
Okay, Mom, what would you like to build?
Let's build a building.
Okay. Right now, Jessica and Jack Riley are doing constructive play with Legos. What it does is teach a child how to imitate others and construct items out of their imagination.
I need a window. Where's my window?
Jack Riley is building things from his own mind, things that he's been taught before and he's recalling on his own.
Another one.
What is that supposed to be? Is it a camera or glasses or what is it?
Camera.
It's a camera, a special camera.
Here's my camera. Click, click.
Woo! That's so cool.
I also wanted to do functional pretend play too. So with the kitchen set, see how his conversation skills are. I haven't actually done that in the past couple of weeks. What we're really focusing on for that is not just the actions of having him imitate, but rather the narration of it, so that it's more appropriate. Like he can narrate what and tell us what he's doing in relation to what he's playing with, instead of us just modeling it for him. So we'll see.
What do you want to eat?
Can I have corn on the cob and some turkey?
Careful, it's hot. Oh, it's hot.
Blow on it.
Blow on it.
Okay, it looks delicious.
I want to eat anything else.
Yeah, I want dessert now.
Oh, here, give it to her. Here's your dessert, Suzanne.
We need some more fruit. Here's some fruit.
Oh, thank you. That looks delicious. I can't wait to eat it.
It's cold.
It's cold? Oh, good. Don't have to blow on it. Nom, 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 nom.
Do you like it?
Do you like it?
I love it. Thank you. It's a perfect call for a dessert. Nom, 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 nom. Would you like to have some of my fruit that you gave me?
Yeah.
Which one would you like to have? Oh, the orange. Delicious.
How did it taste? Look at her.
How'd it taste?
It's good.
It's good?
I'm eating.
I know.
This is delicious.
Banana. Banana. Here's your banana.
Thank you for the banana.
We've been talking a little bit about ABA, and earlier I mentioned systematic desensitization, and here we have Jack Riley, a little boy who is so profoundly bothered by food, especially bananas. And you could spend a great deal of time as a parent fixating on when our child has some fixation on something where they get so upset, and you go, why? Why is that happening? And it's not unimportant why it's happening, but there are some times when you can't figure it out easily. And it's not functional. It's not functional to be a child who cries every time he sees a banana, especially in light of the fact that he loves to eat a mashed banana. And by the way, Emily's showing you where you can watch all of these episodes. Really a great series, and I encourage all of you to watch it at whatever point is convenient. You can go back to the beginning, watch through to where he currently is, or catch episodes that we show here. Go back and watch the toilet training. Look at, some of the things that the parents go through so that you have an understanding of what this is like. But I love that, they're showing you some of the different ways that you don't just accept that this is a child who cries when he sees a banana. And you don't, keep banging your head against a wall and going, well, why? What happened? That, what's the thought process behind the fact that he cries every time he sees it? Doesn't make sense. And what does this mean? And blah, blah, blah. Because you can. It's going down the rabbit hole. You can go there and spend a week on that and not get anything done. But in the meantime, they start to problem solve and go, okay, how can we make it so this child isn't being held back by the fact that the sight of a banana makes him cry? We don't want to send him off to junior high school and when somebody pulls a banana out of their backpack, have him descend into tears, right? So there are lots of different ways that they do it, and they're taking things that are not upsetting to him and pairing good things with them so that eventually they've worked up to the point here where he's playing with fake bananas. We got functional pretend play going on. He's playing with fake bananas, and he's going yum, 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 and there's no tears. Now, they didn't start out with the fake bananas. They start out, if you watch some of the earlier episodes, they start out with fake oranges. Those fabulous Melissa and Doug toys. Oh my gosh, I love the Melissa and Doug toys. Because if you go to Toys R Us or any other toy store, there's going to be a whole aisle of toys that are really functional pretend play toys. They're the fake shopping carts, the fake kitchens, and all the fake packages of food, and there's but Melissa and Doug just ramps it up another level. They make really good toys, and they're wood toys, and sometimes they're wood toys with Velcro. You can find the thing that really reinforces your child. So they have the fake pizza set that it has wooden pieces of pizza, and it has little mushrooms, and they can make a pizza and stick the mushrooms on, and it has the little cutter that goes through and separates the Velcro from things. But they also have that for the cupcake one, for designing cupcakes, and there's the one for making the sandwich, and they're just so clever. They're just so clever over at Melissa and Doug. Anyway, in one of the earlier episodes, you saw him playing with the Melissa and Doug orange that is Velcro, and it comes apart into the sections. Great functional pretend play. And by the way, when you buy your Melissa and Doug toys, they outlast your children, so they get handed down to the next generation to the next child. They're spectacular. Whenever I see Melissa and Doug toys at a garage sale, I'm just so excited and happy to snatch them up and give them to somebody else because they're really, really useful. But in a great way for this family, and they have lots of other toys there besides Melissa and Doug, but they're desensitizing him, showing him that you can play with food and there's nothing harmful about it, so that eventually they can introduce the banana and have him see the banana, and he goes, yum, yum, banana, and there's no tears, which we see very quickly leads to him being able to see a banana in real life, and there's no tears there either. Really works. Systematic desensitization. And we can do this with other things as well. So if you think about the thing that your child is most phobic about, and how slow you can go. For those of you who have kids who are terrorized for Halloween, now's a really good time to start working on that, because we know that in September 1st, which is not that far away, the first of the Halloween stores will open. So, we can start to work on some of those things really slowly now. And I encourage you to work with therapists to do that kind of work, because really they're going to help you to, I think a lot of times we, as people who don't have an understanding of how these programs are designed, we want to go much faster, where they have patience because they've seen how it works when you have patience. So check out the A Word. Truly, truly amazing. We're going to take a break. We understand that Evelyn Gould has been held up a little bit, so she's going to be joining us a little bit later. But we soldier on, we continue on, and we've got some interesting messages for you when we come back, so stick with us.
The Institute for Behavioral Training provides courses in applied behavior analysis for the treatment of autism. Access IBT e-learning videos on the move and learn at your own pace.
I'm going to talk a little bit about intensity.
IBT e-learning makes any location your classroom on the go.
So our objectives for today are to really learn what is autism and how is it diagnosed.
Get professional guidance with IBT face-to-face training. IBT face-to-face training courses prepare you to effectively implement ABA-based interventions. Choose between small group and one-to-one instruction. Earn BCBA supervision hours via one-to-one video conferencing.
So I had a chance to review your BIP today. You know what? It looked really good. You did a good job with it.
IBT, continuing education courses. Earn credit through webinars, conferences, article reviews, and e-learning videos. You can learn more at ibehavioraltraining.com. IBT, 360 degrees of ABA training.
How very fun. I guess that we have members from Jack Riley's family that are watching us this morning because we got a message saying we love Suzanne and Shannon from Jack Riley's family. Well, I tell you what, we all love that family. What an amazing family. What a tour de force they are to be so open and so honest and to share their lives with all of us. I don't think I could have done it. I'm just going to be honest. I don't think I could have done it. I have to laugh sometimes because I will run into somebody here in the building who was one of our therapists. And, there's a little bit of a, oh my gosh, because I want them to see me as a professional person who sits here and does this and whatever. And they have seen me come to the door, in the ripped T-shirt that's covered with everything under the sun, in tears because the school district just served us with papers, and heard me on the phone, screaming and yelling about it, and seen me at my absolute worst. I think they're shocked when they see me with makeup. It seems like I must be a different person because they have seen me on my kitchen floor and devastated. So, and that's just a group of people who have seen that and who I think lovingly look the other way and don't shame me for it. But nobody was videotaping it and putting it on a program. So my kudos to those brave people who make a difference every day and who are such awesome parents and getting it done for both of their kids. It's just really remarkable. Courageous, bold, fabulous, brave parents. So, and we love them. I got to take a moment here and remind everybody that there are only a few days left. There is a promotion going on right now for Paper Clouds Apparel. They sell limited edition T-shirts that have designs on them that are done by children who have either autism or Down syndrome or something that is a bit of a challenge for them, but they're still able to do artwork, and it all goes to really good causes. Well, my son was given an opportunity to enter one of their contests to be on a T-shirt. He drew a robot. I had no idea that my child could draw like that. And even while he was drawing it, I was like, what are you doing? Because he was drawing it in 3D, and I couldn't see it like the way in which I wish I had videotaped him drawing it, because I literally had no idea what he was drawing. And then when I saw what it was, I went, oh my gosh, that's a really great robot. And his robot was picked to be on T-shirts. They're on hats. They're on bags. There's the hats. I just love the hats. And they're on tote bags. And last week they were on sale. This week they're on sale. When you buy one of my son's robot products from Paper Clouds Apparel, 50% of the profit of it goes to Autism Care and Treatment Today. This is a wonderful organization that gives grants to families 4 different times of the year. They open up their grant process. People apply for a grant, and they're given grants for things like IBT training. We just saw a commercial for them. They're given grants to go get medical testing. They're given grants to go and get their diagnosis confirmed so that they can make sure that they get the right number of hours. They're given money for co-pays and for deductibles. Sometimes they're given money for things like a fence if the child is eloping. They give money towards ABA training and ABA evaluation. They give things for biomedical. So if you want to get your child tested for biomedical, all of those things, the families get to write in and say, here's what we need for our individual child. You gotta love Autism Care and Treatment Today. So here's a great way that you can support them and get a really fabulous t-shirt or a bag or a hat out of it. I can tell you that the t-shirts are bamboo t-shirts, and they are the softest t-shirt you will ever own. So go to Paper Clouds Apparel, help me in celebrating my son's robot, and give money to Autism Care and Treatment Today. You will see when you're there. There are other t-shirts that are available these 2 weeks too. There's a skull with crossbones with a little pink bow, and it's just so cute. And there's a guitar, and to me it looks like an alligator. They were calling it a dinosaur. Each one of those shirts was drawn by different children, and there are different charities associated with each one of those shirts. So I hope you'll support Paper Clouds Apparel. They're about to do a contest where other organizations can give a t-shirt and say, hey, we want our organization involved. So look for news of that on their site, Paper Clouds Apparel. We just love them. And yes, I'm just a little proud around the edges that my son is on, his artwork is on a t-shirt. How crazy is that? I really did not think, when I handed him a piece of paper and I said, look, they want you to enter this thing, draw this, I did not think that was happening. And there we are. Very, very excited about it. Okay, we are going to take another break, and we'll be back with more after these messages.
Skills is an online program that provides assessment, curriculum, positive behavior support planning for challenging behavior, and progress tracking, and it does this all in one place. The skills assessment and curriculum addresses 8 areas of development, which even includes advanced higher level areas such as executive functions and cognition, which pretty much makes skills the only ABA-based set of curricula for teaching more complex skills, things like problem solving, planning, self-management, perspective taking, and even inferring and predicting others' private events. Skills is a 4-step system. Step 1 is to add the child to your account. Step 2 is to start assessment. The skills assessment is the only ABA-based assessment with psychometric research demonstrating the language subscale to have excellent reliability. Every area of human functioning and typical child development from infancy to adolescence was researched, making the skills assessment the most comprehensive of its kind in the world, and we're quite proud of that.
Skills is easy to use. Simply click Start Assessment and begin answering questions. Or simply type in a keyword, find specific activities to assess, and add activities to treatment. Step 3. Choose activities. Once you've completed the assessment, Skills selects from a pool of 4,000 activities categorized by age, level, and skill type to provide you with exactly those activities each child needs. Start by choosing a curriculum, then a lesson, and finally an activity. Click the information icon to view prerequisites, ages in which targets develop, examples, and IEP goals. Click the video icon to watch a short video. Once you've identified an activity you want to teach, adding activities to treatment is a snap. Step 4. Start treatment. Here you can access customizable activity lesson details, add your own customized targets and exemplars, and edit an activity status such as introducing or mastering it. You can even print handouts such as worksheets, tracking forms, visual aids, and other materials. Skills also offers multiple progress charts mapping curriculum progress, lesson progress, and cumulative number of activities and targets mastered over time. The Skills language curriculum is categorized by verbal behavior type so that users can identify progress for verbal operants, such as echoics, mans, tacks, and interverbals.
Skills is one of the only programs that provides the ability to write behavior intervention plans, or BIPs, for challenging behavior.
With just a few clicks, the outline of the behavior intervention plan is written for you and ready to be printed and implemented.
You can learn more about Skills today and get started by visiting us at www.skillsforautism.com, or you can call us at 877-975-4559. Skills. Progress starts here.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We had a question that came in that I wanted to address. Hi, Shannon. My 11-year-old freaks out about bees around him. What would you recommend to help him with that? It's very interesting that you should say that because we just went through something similar. I don't know the severity. When you say freaks out, I don't know the severity of what you're talking about. And obviously, all kids freaking out about things, there are going to be different components to it. So one of the first things that I would ask is, what do you know about what the origin of it is? Did something happen? Did they see somebody get stung? Did they get stung? Did they hear about it? Or is it the buzzing of the bees? So is there anything that buzzes and they freak out about it? And what, the therapists always talk about, what's the topography of the behavior, right? What does it look like? So if they see a bee far away, are they going to get freaked out about it and start running and screaming? And do they try to kill the bee? Or if they hear the buzz and it comes close to them and somebody says there's a bee, do they start screaming and running away from the bee and could potentially run into traffic? Or do they try to kill the bee? What's actually going on? Because you want to look at it from all different points of view about what's going on. But we just went through and you may not know the answers to all of that, and that's okay, but let's take the information that you do know and start to pick through it and go, okay, what do we need to be concerned about and what's useful to us? What do we have that can actually help us? And my son just all of a sudden about 6 months ago he had been all mild-mannered about bees, and we had bee issues many times. My son used to love to eat the Subway chicken on a salad. That's like the oval. In fact, he called it oval chicken. Can I have oval chicken instead of Subway chicken? And we took it on a couple of picnics, not realizing there's something on that chicken that bees will swarm. Don't take Subway chicken on a picnic because you will have bees. And I don't know whether that coincided with it. Didn't bother him for a long period of time, but he wasn't so much into Subway chicken anymore. And all of a sudden, just recently, he started getting really freaked out around bees. And if there was a bee, he would start to yell. And for a long time, he had the attitude of, well, bees won't hurt me if I don't hurt them and if I just stay still. Like, he knew that rule from when he was little, and that went out the window about 6 months ago, and he would start screaming, going, and swatting at the bee, which is when you're going to get stung, right? And kind of running around, and we were always in contained places, but I worried that if he just started running, he could run out in front of traffic. So I started getting really concerned about it and was getting to the point where I was going to bring somebody to work on it. But a couple of things happened, and it all got turned around. And I'll tell you the couple of things that happened. We talked about it a little bit. I don't think that's what turned it around. And I have a very good friend, in fact, a friend who's getting married on Saturday, who raises bees. And she's really, everything is about bees. Like there's a whole bee component to the wedding. She's been painting little rock bees, and it's a big component of the wedding. And the colors of the wedding are sunflowers because there's going to be bees there, right? And so talking about the fact that Auntie Therese loves bees and raises bees, and that bees make honey, and honey was something that wasn't big in my son's diet, but we let him have a little bit of it, and he went, wow, this is really cool. They also happened to do a segment on bees in school, so they saw a little movie about bees, and they read a little chapter about bees because they were talking about the environment, and he was hearing how great the bees are for the environment, right on the heels of the fact that we just happened to watch Bee Movie, the animated movie with Jerry Seinfeld is the lead character, who's a bee, and he'd just gotten information about a bee, and then he watched the Bee Movie, and it really makes bees real. They have families, and they have jobs, and they have hopes, and they have dreams, and And Jem had all these questions based on the fact that he had learned about bees and then he saw the movie, because some of the things in the movie aren't accurate and other things are. And he had all these questions, and we kept having all these discussions about bees. And he told me something about bees, and I said, I don't think that's true. I don't think that's accurate. And we said, well, we'll go to our bee expert, Auntie Therese, and lo and behold, he was right. And that was a big excitement for him. And there's also a big component in the bee movie where they talk about the fact that they die if they sting us, that bees die if they sting us, and it's not worth it to them, but that sometimes people react weird and they have to defend themselves. So for some reason, I could have said that a million times to my son, but the fact that the bee said it, and I think the combo platter of he read about it a little bit at school, had somebody that he knows that loves bees, and seeing the bee movie, suddenly he's doing all this research on bees. And we were around a bee recently. In fact, a lot of stuff is in bloom in our backyard, and there's bees all over our backyard right now. And I saw a little bit of fear in him, and I said, but watch. Let's keep the door closed and watch what the bees do. And he watched the bee go from one flower on the pumpkin plant to a flower on the squash plant, and he knew what the bee was doing, and the fact that it's making it so that there's going to be pumpkins in his backyard and there's going to be squash in his backyard. And then we watched a couple of days later as the pumpkins are starting to form, and he's putting it all together and being informed about it. So he is now at the point where he'll go in the backyard instead of looking through the glass door, and he's watching the bees and realizing that he's not getting hurt, that they don't want to hurt him. So that's what we've been doing, and it's been working out really well, but I'm not forcing it. I'm not pushing it. I'm not taking him to my friend's beehive. You know what I mean? I'm afraid of that. So, we want to go really, really slow, because I don't want him to be afraid of bees, and I don't want him running out into traffic. And I keep reiterating, when a bee comes along, the best thing for us to do is what? And he says, freeze. That I freeze and I don't do anything, because the bee doesn't want to hurt me. And if I move, the bee might think that I'm going to hurt him. So that's what I keep bringing up. And the reinforcing thing has been the bee movie. So, and it was just on a lot of different cable outlets. So it might be on sometime recently. So I hope that's all kids are different. Like, your child's issues with bees might be completely different than mine. But would be interesting to see if some of the same things could be useful, like watching that animated movie to see if he feels differently about it. Let me know. I love to hear back from you guys. Okay, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and talk about challenging behavior in the 4 usual suspects. So stick with us.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet is Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism. Doreen Grand-Pichet. Dr. Grand-Pichet. Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet is a visionary in the field of autism, and now you get to ask her questions every Wednesday at 10 a.m. on Ask Dr. Doreen. So we've been talking about ABA basics this week and how important it is for all of us, because we can increase behaviors we want to see more of and decrease behaviors we want to see less of. And a lot of times when people are starting out with ABA, we're desperate. There's no other way of saying it. We're desperate. We're in a spot where there's stuff happening that can't continue to happen. Somebody's going to get hurt, or you just can't sustain life and happiness at the level that it's happening because you got challenging behavior on board. You've got a kid who's biting, or you've got somebody who's kicking, who's not sleeping. For all the people that I'm friends with on Facebook that write it and say, I'm in hour 36 of my child not sleeping. You can't do that kind of stuff long term. We all know it. You keel over. Your body starts to break down. It's not good. We can't maintain the level of stress that comes along with a lot of these challenging behaviors. And by the way, the list is endless. The child who you can't potty train, or the child who's smearing feces on the wall. The full gamut of all the things that there are to be challenging behaviors. The child who won't eat, the child who can't figure out how to swallow their pills, right? So really important. Well, that comes under the heading of skills that we want to teach. We'll talk about that another time. But let's talk about the challenging behaviors that are behaviors we want to get rid of or greatly diminish. That's what I want to take the time to talk about. And we talked at the beginning of the show about the fact that all of these behaviors, as hard as it is to believe, are being maintained by some sort of paycheck. Oh, I know, that's a hard one. And it feels like when somebody says that the finger is being pointed at you and that it's your fault. That's not the case. That is not the case at all. It is not your fault. Because sometimes it's happening and it's not you that's doing it. Even when it is you doing it, it's not intentional, right? So it is not your fault. But if you have the ability to change it, woohoo, right? Let's be empowered. So let's talk about what the 4 usual suspects, because the first thing that we have to do is figure out what the paycheck is. We can't have a proper intervention if we don't know what the paycheck is. If the child is doing something to get attention, then there are things that we know that we can do to change that up and to fix that behavior that are specific to attention-maintained behavior. And by the way, attention is one of the big reasons why people engage in challenging behavior, because they want to get the attention. It's one of the hardest ones because we all have that misconception that you would only do something to get attention if it was good attention, and that's wrong. That is not the truth, and we see evidence that that is not the truth all throughout life, in ourselves and in other people. People engage in behavior to get attention, even if it's negative. Pick up a tabloid. It's evident. It's right there. If someone isn't getting enough attention, they will go to great lengths to get attention. But if we know that attention is the problem, then there are really easy fixes. In fact, it's one of the easiest ones. It's one of the hardest ones to accept that it's attention maintained, because you go, I don't think that makes sense. But once you see, okay, that is attention maintained behavior, it's one of the easiest things in the world to fix, because you give attention for proper things and it fixes itself fairly quickly. Okay, so that's one of the components. One of the other ones that's fairly frequent is to gain access to someone, something, or someplace. That people engage in a behavior because they want to be near someone. For kids, this may be, I want to be with mom, or I want to be with dad, or I want to be with my friend, or it could be, they call it a tangible. It could be a thing. I want my teddy bear. I want the lollipop. I want to eat. I want to drink. And if you stop and think about it, it makes great sense that our kids would engage in challenging behavior to get those things, because it's how they came into the planet. Every single child was born and cried to get something. Baby cries, baby is 2 hours old, baby cries, and we go, oh, baby either needs to be fed, they need their, more clothes, less clothes, they're hot or they're cold, they need to be held, or, they need to be rocked because they're having some gas. But we enter into this behavioral agreement with the baby that the baby goes, I'm going to cry and you're going to do something. I'm going to cry and you're going to do something. I'm going to keep crying and you're going to keep doing things until I stop crying. So we all do, right? And then we have this expectation that the child's going to grow and progress and that they're going to stop doing that. Well, a lot of kids do after what we call the terrible twos, which is a time of transition where the kids learn, oh my gosh, I cry and it's not working as well, but I don't yet have the words to tell you what I want. But then as they transition and they get the words, then they let go of the tantrum, because the tantrum isn't as effective as the words. Except sometimes our kids don't learn how to speak. And sometimes we as adults keep rewarding the whining or the crying or the tantruming because it's easier. It's not because we're wrong or we're stupid or ill-informed. It's life. In the moment, you need to take this phone call, or you need to take care of the other child, or you need to get dinner on the table, or you need to make $1, and so it's easier to give into it instead of letting them work through that period of frustration where they get the language. And for our kids with autism, they need help. They need help to get through that frustrating thing. So we have built a relationship with the child where you flip out and I give you something. That's, we all did it. We had to. That's what you have to do with babies. But we need to transition to the next thing of here's how you're going to ask for it, and then I'm going to give it to you. So very fixable, very fixable. Another one of the usual, so far we have attention and getting access to someone or something. Another biggie, and this really goes well into adulthood, and you and I probably engage in it at least once a week, escape. Getting out of something you don't want to do, right? How many times do we say, oh, I got to send this email to somebody, and instead we go and get a drink of water, or we deal with another email, or we go, do whatever. We all postpone things even when we know they're inevitable. We say, oh, I'll deal with that in a minute. I just need a second, right? Kids do that too. And they'll take 7 seconds. 7 seconds is enough of a paycheck to count as being reinforcing. Probably even 3 seconds for some things. So for the kid that you're sticking in the bathtub and the kid that bites, and you like, ow, and you want to have a discussion about it, don't bite, and this is terrible, blah, blah, blah. But the kid just got out of the bath for 3 seconds. So that's reinforcing. The child who doesn't want to be in the classroom and literally bolts, goes someplace else because they want to escape being there with somebody. There are all kinds of things that a child will try to escape. A demand. When we start to teach our children, we're going to teach them concepts that are really difficult for them, which might be vocal language for a very small kid, and it's frustrating and it doesn't feel good. It feels wrong. I used to cry and I got my way, and now you want me to, do this that's hard for me. So they'll engage in challenging behavior to see if they can escape it. It can be one of the hardest things because we have to not let them escape it, which means the child bites you as you're putting them in the bathtub, the child still goes in the bathtub, and you can't walk away because that's not safe, and you don't give attention to the fact that they bit you because we don't want it to be now escape and attention maintained, right? So we act like nothing happened, and what we were doing continues to happen. Oh, that's hard. Oh, that's hard. But we can't let them escape these things, because once they learn, biting is not going to get you out of the bathtub, behavior is going to change. And then the last one, which is the hardest to diagnose and probably the hardest one to find the answer to, is when it's automatically reinforcing in some way. There's something about it that gives in and of itself, that gives the paycheck to the child or the adult, so that they want to keep doing it. We see with our kids who flap their hands. For some of them, not all of them, but for some of them, we might discover that there's something about this that feels or looks good. It's just reinforcing. There are ways that we can combat this, because we can get that paycheck from something else that's more socially acceptable, because if you're doing this, you can't be writing at your desk, right? And kids are going to stare at you and go, what's up with him? And find horrible names for that. But we can find other things to visually stimulate a child if we figure out that that's the visual stimulation. Whatever, it's much harder, but it's not insurmountable. But those are the 4 usual suspects: attention, getting access to something, escaping something, and that there's just something about it that feels good and gives a paycheck all on its own. Really important that we look at those things, and usually it's best, especially if it's something that involves violence or self-injurious behavior, but it's always quickest to have a BCBA look at the behavior and do something called a functional behavior assessment to figure out what the function of the behavior is. Once you know what the function of the behavior is, then you can implement a really good, solid intervention, a behavior intervention plan that gets it done. increase behaviors you want to increase, but in this case, decrease behaviors that you want to see less of. Okay, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back with more right after these messages.
My name is Rocky.
Autism used to affect 1 in every 10,000 children. Now it affects 1 in every 91 kids.
TACA is one of 5 organizations helping families living with autism today.
Our kids came back to life. There's a whole community out there, and now we're a part of it.
Oh, TACA has a place for me.
To find TACA, go to www.tacanow.org.
Please.
Welcome back. A couple of things for your information. I promised you Evelyn Gould. She's held up in a meeting, so it's not looking like we're going to get her, but if she does come in, we'll interrupt and get her in right away. I also want to remind you that Dr. Doreen Grandpichet, we do Ask Dr. Doreen. Dr. Doreen will be here live tomorrow. So if you've got questions, I'm going to be putting together the questions tonight. I would ask you to write in as soon as possible and let us know what you want to ask of Dr. Doreen. You can continue asking questions during the live show. It's just that we've been backed up. So those questions we frequently don't get to until the next week or the week after. So if there's a question you really want answered, make sure that you write in through the night, and I'm going to check tonight and put together the list of questions. Several of you have written in, and I had asked Evelyn Gould to talk about this a little bit, and I'm going to start talking about it today, and maybe we'll follow up with it with Dr. Doreen tomorrow. But several of you have written in the last couple of days and said, look, I know that we need ABA. I'm 100% sold. In different circumstances, one child who's 3, one who's 5, one who's 7, the 3 that I can think of just in the last couple of days, and all 3 different circumstances of where you are with ABA. One person who's on a waiting list and says, yep, we're on the waiting list and we're processing the paperwork and we're chugging along, but we're told that it's going to be between 30 and 90 days before we actually have a therapist at the door because of our funding source and the time that it takes to fill out the paperwork. That's just where they're at. And that, while that's all well and good, because it means within 90 days they're going to start services, the question is, what do I do in the meantime? There are others of you who have written in and said, okay, I get it that ABA is what we need to do, but I don't think we have services here. And I don't know what I'm going to do in the meantime until services do come here. Could you help me out? And a third person who wrote in and said, you know, we've gotten some funding for some ABA. We're working it out. We're probably 30 days away from starting, but we only got 15 hours. And I'm watching the show and I'm realizing it's not enough. What am I going to do to get within that window of that 30 to 40 hours so that I know that I'm giving the right prescription? Okay, there's lots of different, lots of different considerations for each and every person, but there are some resources that I'm going to point to for all of the different things. It is important that you get ABA, and it is important that you start ABA as soon as possible. But I want you to know that it isn't one size fits all, and that there isn't just one way that you can get it. Yep, we talk about the benefits of a center-based program. We talk about the benefits of an in-home ABA program. I want you to know that that's what we all should be striving for. Nobody should give up on that at all. That's the best case scenario. But it's not the only scenario. And it's not, by the way, it's not the only scenario that people have been doing for over a decade now and seeing results from. We've talked before, for those of you who don't have ABA providers that are in your area, we've talked before about the workshop model, that there are ABA providers such as CARD does this, that you can get services, and they're remote services. So a BCBA is assigned to your case, and they travel to you periodically. It might be once every 2 months, once every 3 months, depending on where your child's at and what you need. And they come to you and they help to train a staff of people that you choose. They can be volunteers or people that you pay or that your insurance pays. But that supervisor comes, observes your child, trains the staff, trains you at your house. They're going to fly to where you are. And these people fly all over the world. They go to Sudan. They go to Dubai. They go to China. They go to South Africa. They're in Canada. They're in South America. These people log some serious mileage points, right? But they go to families where they are. They keep tabs via Skype when they're not there, but they train, and that is available if you want it. You can get that from CARD. There are other services that do that as well. If you want it from CARD, go to www.centerforautism, look under the remote services tab. And then you'll be hooked up with that whole team of people. That's if you don't have an ABA provider close to you and you want to get to that home model. Now, for some of you, the funding is just not there for that. That's just outside your reach. Then we move over to, and by the way, this also goes for people who are like, well, I'm 90 days away from starting that, but I don't want to wait. What am I going to do? I would really encourage you to go to iBehavioral Training and start training yourself. Really inexpensive to do it. You can pick where you want to start. They have 3 different categories for parents, teachers, and for practitioners. If you're a parent and you're just starting out, go to the parent one. Eventually, you may want to work up to the practitioner one. But don't start there. The jargon is so intensive that I want to run out with my hair screaming on fire. It's good information, but you have to have the basis for the jargon before you can get to there. If you're a teacher, obviously you want to go to the teacher one. And as a parent, I would encourage you later on to go to the teacher one so you can help your teachers to know how to handle different things that are happening in the classroom. And you can gift those as well, which is a lovely thing. Okay. So you've got your IBT and you can start training, but you need the curriculum. Skills is the same curriculum that my son got, that every child who's a client of CARD gets. Their supervisors use Skills with them. You can have access to it as a parent. It's a membership, and you get access to it on a monthly basis. And you can do a trial of it to see how it works for you. There are some parents that are having great success doing Skills on their own. And that's what they do. They put it in conjunction with their team. They train their team, they use the Skills curriculum, and they're flying. There are other parents who have said, I need more support than that. I need help picking and designing, and I want some supervision that comes with this. I can't, my funding, my insurance won't afford flying somebody to come be where I am. So what am I going to do? There are supervision packets that you can get in addition to Skills, so that you have somebody on Skype on the other end of the line that you're talking to, that are watching some of your child's behaviors, and that you can say, I don't know whether to start here or here, and you want child-specific advice for your child. So that is also available as an affordable way of doing it. I wouldn't wait 90 days. I wouldn't wait for anybody. I would say to you as a parent, I know the road that you're on is not an easy one, but I see you on it. I see you walking it with pride, and I see you asking, okay, what am I going to do? I would say go on IBT today and get yourself at least one training that makes sense to you. Like, it might be diminishing challenging behavior. It might be getting compliance, but treat yourself to that. Now, in addition to all of those things that I just talked about, there are also other programs that both the Center for Autism and other ABA providers do. Actually, there's 2 things, but CARD doesn't do one of them. There is inpatient. For instance, Kennedy Krieger, you can, if the challenging behavior has gotten to such a point that you need intervention and you need on the ground, they say boots on the ground intervention, and you need it soon and you can't wait 90 days. I would look at something like Kennedy Krieger and see if you can't get an intake. I believe UCLA also does this too, where they will take your child in and in some cases hospitalize them for a week or 2, and a team will work on your child to get the really most severe challenging behavior under control while they're training you about when your child comes home in 2 weeks. This is not a long-term separation, but it's just if you're in danger, if your life is in danger, your child's life is in danger, anybody else's home in the house is in danger, you might need to go to that level. And don't be ashamed if that's the case, because it's what you need. And then there are also circumstances that at CARD, what they call SOS, and it's a lot like the nanny. a super nanny. You know how the nanny would go out to the house and target something? Well, workshop services is probably a little bit more like the super nanny, but the SOS is somebody coming out to deal with just one behavior. So if you've got a child who's cutting, or you've got a child who is self-injurious in any way, or violent, or not eating, failing to thrive, these are things that can't wait 90 days. They just can't. And then you need to bring somebody in immediately into the home who's going to look at it and come up with an intervention just for that thing, to get that thing under control before you look at the bigger picture of what else needs to be done. But there are some things that are urgent. You need to get them right now. Now, insurance, if you have insurance, should pay for that. But I would also tell you, if you don't have insurance and you're in the SOS mode, Autism Care and Treatment Today gives grants for SOS situations. It has to be a situation in which the child's safety or the family's safety is involved. But you can apply for an emergency grant for their SOS programming. You don't have to wait until until they're open for a grant period. They're open for that kind of grant all the time. But you have to be able to demonstrate that there is danger, imminent danger, to be eligible for that kind of a grant from Autism Care and Treatment Today. But I was saying to Evelyn Gould yesterday, when my child was diagnosed, it was about hurry up and wait. Hurry up, get your paperwork in, and now wait. And I remember that as being one of the hardest times on our journey, where I sat on my hands and I would say, this is cruel. This is cruel. There are agencies that are out there that are willing to fund us, to help us, and they've told us how important early intervention is and how important it is to get there. And we found them, they found us, and now they're taking their time with our paperwork. And you understand it. There's so much need, and you got to wait, but it seems cruel. And the mom, Cheryl, in the A word, talks about that in the first episode, about, really? You told us there's a window and now we got to wait? What's up with that? It's the height of cruelty. Even if we understand it, it's the height of cruelty. But I love the fact that nobody needs to be stuck on that anymore. You can go you are empowered now because of online technology to be able to learn today things that you can be doing with your child today, and learning at a very high level. So I encourage you not to wait. We are going to talk some more about this with Dr. Grant Pichet tomorrow. But I encourage you not to wait. Go to ibehavioraltraining.com, go to skillsforautism.com, go to centerforautism.com, and piece together what you need for the short game and for the long game, because you're worth it and your child's worth it. Okay. Let's take a breath now. We're out of time pretty much. So I was going to say let's take a break, but let's not. Let's just finish out the show here. I want to remind all of you that there are lots of ways that you can get in touch with us, and Emily's going to show you some of the ways that you can get in touch with us here. I love it when you get in touch with us. We are very behind right now on our questions, and we take that very seriously, and I want you to know we're working really hard to get your questions answered both on the air and off the air, and to supply you with the help and the support that you want. I love it that there is, this tidal wave of people who are saying, look, this is the kind of help I need. And all I do is beg for your patience, because we will get them all answered, or die trying, right? Nobody's dying. We're not doing that. But we're going to get them all answered. It just takes a little while. And also I want to remind you some of the things going on this week and next week. First of all, tomorrow, Ask Dr. Doreen. Dr. Doreen Grant-Pichet, a true expert and visionary in the field of autism, is here for you for an hour. She's going to be answering questions live. We have the live feature. You can write in questions in live time. I would encourage you to write your questions in before. I'm going to put together the questions tonight, but watch the live show for your live question and be ready, because a lot of times Dr. Doreen has additional questions that she'll say, I wish I knew this. And then we love it. Listen, I get to be here with her during the breaks and talk to her during the breaks, and she loves it when you guys write in and give her more information, because then you ask a question and she's got this much information to give you, and then she asks the question and you answer it, and then, it gets honed and honed and honed. We can never give child specific, but the information that she can give you gets more and more honed when you guys give us more information. So I hope that you'll participate in that way. Thursday. Then Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson will be here. She is the amazing executive director of Autism Care and Treatment Today. She co-hosts with me a segment on Wednesdays, Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. And we've got some really exciting guests for you tomorrow, including somebody who's going to be talking to us about the Ride for Autism. This is an event that's coming up here in Los Angeles, and it's this Saturday. I don't know how, but it always works out every summer that is the one event that I cannot go to. I've wanted to go to this event for so long, and yet again, because one of my best friends is getting married on Saturday, I can't go. But I believe Nancy is going to be there, and we're going to be talking with somebody from the event. I know that Dylan McDermott, right? That's the name. Tori Spelling's husband is the master of ceremonies, and it is a lovely, lovely event every year, raises money for autism. So we're going to be talking about that with our guests tomorrow. Then on Thursday, Ashley Colas is going to be here, and on Thursday, I'm told that she is going to be able to do that review of backpacks for us and the review of all the weighted pencils and the tripod grips, because we're getting ready to get back to school. So Ashley's going to give us the lowdown on that on Thursday, and Angela Persicki, BCBA, both Ashley Colas and Angela Persicki are BCBAs. Those are board certified behavior analysts. They love taking your questions. They're very experienced working with our kids on the spectrum. We will not be here for a live show on Friday. Of course, the show will continue to air, but we won't be here on Friday. We won't be here on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday of next week. So it will be a full week. We'll do a show on Thursday and come back and do another show on Thursday. We're letting Emily take some time off. We rarely do that. We keep her very close and tight because we need her so desperately, but we're all going to wish Emily well and appreciate that she gets to go and spend some time with her family. She said woohoo in my ear. So there we have it. So we won't be here for that week. There will be no Ask Dr. Doreen for that first week in August, but we will be back with our regular shows starting on that Thursday. While Emily's gone, Suzanne and I are going to go and get some filming done at some places around. We've got some really amazing stuff that's being edited right now to bring you guys, because we've been very busy on the road doing things. So all of that and ever so much more, and always, of course, your questions. Be a part of this with us. Interact with us. I can't even tell you how exciting it is to us. And I want you to know, especially today, that you are not in this alone. There are people who are pulling for you here, and I am one of them. So know that you are not alone. We hear you, okay? I'll be back tomorrow. Until then, please give your kiddos a hug from me, and one for you as well. See you tomorrow.